Trust Center for Media in downtown Cape Girardeau. Welcome to Focus on Southeast, a program on issues, events, and people impacting Southeast Missouri State University. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. Later on today's show, we will talk with Dr. Brad Deken about SEMO's Department of Engineering's recent reaccreditation by ABET and a recent gift to advance engineering education. Our first guest today, though, is Shan Howard. She is the Director of Regional Campuses here at SEMO.
Thank you for
Shan,
having
welcome
me.
to the program. Good to have you here. Let's start. That's your first time on the show.
Yes.
So let's start out with your background first.
All right. I am originally from Chicago. I went to college at Bradley University in Illinois. And I would say that my background in higher ed started there because I worked 4 years in their admission office.
Okay.
And I did college tours, and it kind of continued after that.
So you worked in admissions for a while.
I did, yes.
I'm sure that has helped you with your position now.
I have not returned to admissions, but yes, I still do parts of admissions in my job, and it does help.
So give us a sense for folks who don't know anything about the regional campuses. We're, have the main campus here in Cape Girardeau, but we have the campuses outside of here in Cape.
Yes.
So tell us about those and sort of the operations there and some of the happenings.
Okay, so we have our Sikeston campus, which is the closest to Cape. It's about 30 minutes south, and it's one building. A lot of people are surprised to find out that both of our regional campuses are just one building. Mm-hmm. The Sikeston campus has 2 floors. The Kennett has one floor. So very small compared to a traditional campus, but that is one of the draws for a lot of our students because a lot of our students come from districts that have one building for K through 12. And so it feels very home-like for them that they are going back to something similar, a similar setup. And so we have the Kennett campus, as I said, is one floor. It's a large building, but it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours south.
Okay.
And those students usually come from 30 minutes to an hour of the facility. So we have students that travel to both campuses.
Give us a sense of the numbers for each campus, students.
So at this time, Sikeston's campus has about a little less than, I think, 200, and Kennett has a little less than 100 students. And they have grown since the new staff has started.
Yeah. You're based, your office, I guess, in Sikeston.
Yes.
How often do you go to the Kennett campus?
Well, currently I don't have to visit as often. So we have a new staff there, and they've gotten pretty settled. But during the transition, I traveled to the Kennett campus a little bit more frequently. So here now, I would probably say maybe once a semester if I can make it to their advisory council, or if we are going for a visit. So me and the provost hope to visit soon in February. So we'll be down for a day. So not often. We do a lot of things by Zoom.
Do the faculty that teach at Sikeston, do they sort of do Sikeston Kennett, or they do Cape Sikeston Kennett? How does the faculty sort of migrate in and out of the campuses?
A little mix of both. We do have a few instructors that are, their home campus is Kennett. Okay. And then we have a few that maybe slightly more that home campus is Sikeston. And then most of our instruction come from Cape. So a lot of the instructors, home campus is Cape. And then a lot of them do what we call teachbacks, in which they'll travel to another site one day a week, and they'll teach their classes from that site.
Teachbacks, I've never heard that.
So, for example, if you're normally in Cape, one week you'll spend one day in Sikeston, and you may spend the next day in Kennett for their section, and then you'll come back to Cape. That way the students get a face-to-face experience with the instructor.
Okay. Give us a sense of, the word is the vibe or the feel there at the campuses. You talked about a family kind of feel. Tell us how you foster that and what it's like.
We are a very service-oriented community at each campus, so we have the ability to focus on the whole student and what they need. So we provide a little bit of everything, and we are like a family. Even the employees, we treat each other like a family. We have text messages that we are able to communicate about our pups or whatever is going on. So we are very committed to each other and our students. So we do fun things to make sure students do have involvement. A lot of our students will stop by and just tell us about what's going on with them, or do our would you rather, which we change in the Sikeston office every day or every week. So would you rather do this or this? So a lot of our students like things like that. we have a lot of students just like to spend time with us, and they'll stop by if it's, between classes, and they'll sit in the office. But it is, because it's so similar to their high school, I think they've gotten used to having a point person. And so one of our staff members usually serve in that role.
And does that work because it's not an overly huge setup? Is that why that sort of close-knit community works?
Yes, I think that is part of it, that our student group isn't as massive as some of the workloads of CAPE advisors possibly, but it also helps because we do have to do small parts of like financial aid and admissions and mental health and disciplinary things. All of those start in our office, even if we have to pass it along to someone else. Those conversations often start with us.
So give us a sense of some of the challenges that you face as the director of the regional campuses.
If I had to say what I would love to fix or improve upon is our course offerings. I would like to offer a variety of different courses for our students. Sometimes if a student's been there for a while, they'll want a different general education course. So to have some more offerings. Sometimes we're limited by how many Zoom rooms we have, what we can offer at a time. So having more opportunities to offer classes and more space, that would be great. I think that would be one of the challenges, is just that limitation on what we can offer at our campuses.
When we talked on the phone to prepare for this, you talked about deferred maintenance and building challenges. I guess that's something that's probably always there, right?
Yes, I wasn't planning to bring that up, but I think a lot of us have dealt with that, and our campuses are not different in that way. So they are older buildings, so sometimes we do have HVAC issues. So we would love to have the HVAC replaced if we could, but I think a lot of, we're not unique in that way, that there are things that we would definitely like to address.
Angela Meyer was on a recent program, and she cited HVAC as something facilities would like to work on the main campus and the regional campuses, so that fits right in with what she told us too.
And I would say her staff has been very wonderful. If I call them, we put in a work order, they respond almost immediately. I can call them or my staff can contact them at 7:30 in the morning, and someone's there by 8:30.
That's great.
To address the issue at the Sikeston campus. Maybe a little later in Kennett, but they are pretty immediate.
Yeah. So let's talk about the impact of the regional campuses on students that attend.
Okay. So I think one of the things that I like to celebrate is our ability to give access to students. A lot of our students are, like I said, they'll travel up to an hour, but most of them are coming within the community. And if it wasn't for our campus, they may not be able to attend college because they do work, they do have families. Some are not traditional, some are veterans. So having the campus in their neighborhood allows them to do these things as well as earn an education. So it provides access. We also allow restricted students at our campus. So if they don't meet the traditional requirements for admissions to SEMO, they can start at our campus. And once they earn 12 hours in a 2.0, they can transition to SEMO online or to CAPE. So that's another thing that we offer that's unique to the regional campuses.
Do you get to talk to students and they sort of share with you, if it weren't for you guys, I couldn't come, and here are the things that I'm facing in my life to line up to make this all work? I'm sure you're hearing those personal stories.
Yes, all the time. So for example, like I said, we have students who are pregnant and so they know that this is coming. So trying to factor in how I'm going to finish classes or graduate. We had one was so close to graduation, car issues, their car breakdown, but they can hop in a car with a friend, or their parent can drop them off on the way to work, and then they pick them up towards the end of the day or at lunch. So a lot of those things that if you were at another campus, it may be harder to navigate. They can do with the support of their family because they're able to stay at home. So yes, we definitely hear those stories. If it wasn't for the regional campus, if I had to travel an hour, I wouldn't be able to finish. We also take the A+ scholarship, or our SEMO's version of the A+ scholarship. So students who have fulfilled those requirements in high school are very glad to use those scholarships because it does pay for 60 credit hours or up to 6 semesters of credit. And so that is a cost savings for a lot of students. Also, our courses at the lower level are reduced, so that helps students as far as cost as well.
You talk about the family atmosphere. I'm just curious, do you know most of the students by name? You probably know a good chunk of them.
I did when I was advising.
Okay.
As a director, I don't get to spend as much time individually with students. I do go to our enrollment days at Sikeston, and so I do get to meet families and spend some time with them. But I don't know every student. I know their faces. I'm much better with faces and names just naturally. But I don't get to experience as much time individually with students. But it is an incredible feeling to work in the community you live in. So I often get to see them at their jobs. So that's fulfilling. So like when I walk into Walmart or wherever and I see a student and they know me, you know, and we can talk about it. Or after they graduate, seeing them in a classroom teaching, for example. This past fall, my son's student teacher was one of our students who graduated in December. So that was wonderful to experience.
That's really nice. You mentioned community. Talk about how important it is to be present in the community, like where the campuses are. You've mentioned you think that's a really important part.
It is very important. I try to get involved in our community and support organizations as much as possible. I have learned that to be supported, you have to give support. I feel like that's pretty natural, but not everybody sees it that way. So I do take a huge involvement in our chamber. Last year I was invited to be on the chamber board as a non-voting member, but that has allowed us to have a lot of natural connections through that. Getting to know industries by us. So we have covenants for North Industrial Park where Sikeston is located. So getting to meet those industry leaders have led to opportunities for students and ourselves. So learning about when they're hiring. So we can share that on campus and post things for our students to take advantage of those opportunities.
So being out and about is an important part of what you do.
It is. And then Kennett, their staff is fairly new, and for the first time in tens of years, they are not from Kennett, excuse me. So they're learning their community. So we set goals today, for example, and the hope is that Judith, the coordinator there, will meet with some of the high school counselors and develop relationships with them because it is essential.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes. And the one thing I want to ask you about, looking ahead next year, 2 years, in your crystal ball for the regional campuses, what would you like to see? What are some of the things that are on your mind?
I would love to see what the new president has to say about our campuses because I feel like that will set the tone. But growth, I would love to see growth and variety of programs if I had to choose. So we're planning a team meeting to brainstorm ideas in February, and then the next week I'm hoping to meet with the provost to do the same. So bring my team's ideas to him, and we'll talk about what it looked like for the next couple years for the regional campuses. So growth for sure, and program changes if needed. I would love to have some stackable certificates or smaller degrees to offer. The industry has made it clear that they have needs, so moving people from their lines to management. So if we could do some of those credentials and short-term courses at our regional campuses, I think that would be great. That would be great.
Shan, it's been good talking with you about the regional campuses. Thanks for being on the program.
Well, thank you.
We're going to take a short break. Dr. Brad Deken is here. He's up with us next here on Focus on Southeast. We'll be right back.
Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age.
Who did you steal him from?
Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of Alzheimer's.
Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. SEMO's Department of Engineering and Technology recently received reaccreditation from the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, ABET. Dr. Brad Deken is here. He's chair of the department. He's here to tell us about that, and I'll ask him a lot of other questions about the department. Good to see you, Brad.
It's nice to see you again as well. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about this reaccreditation. I know these are important that speak to our academic programs. Tell us what this means for your department.
Yeah, so accreditation in general is really a stamp of approval from an outside organization that they come in, they look at our processes, they look at our programs, and kind of do a 360 view of these programs and make sure they're delivering to students what we say we're going to deliver to them. And it's a very involved process, so it takes a lot of time and effort for our faculty to generate the report and basically to do the work that allows us to be accredited. But it's not just our faculty, right? Students are very involved in the accreditation, and outside companies. So we have an industrial advisory board that we talk to community leaders in engineering and engineering technology, and they give us feedback on our programs, they give us suggestions, and we follow through on those suggestions. And so whenever the team comes, they're talking to all of these groups and making sure we're all kind of on the same page. So it's a huge stamp of approval for our department. And then especially for engineering, it becomes even more important because the Engineering Accreditation Commission of ABET, which is where we get our accrediting from for our engineering, physics, and industrial and systems engineering programs, you have to have that accreditation in order to become a licensed professional engineer across the United States. So that's a very key first step if you do want to go kind of to those roles. But the accreditation, I mentioned two of the programs, so engineering physics, industrial and systems engineering, and then we have a third program, engineering technology, which is accredited under a separate commission of ABET.
So do you get to do a lot of that paperwork? I know there's probably a lot of stuff that goes into doing this.
There's a lot of hands that touch those papers or touch those virtual papers because it is all in the computer. But unfortunately, a lot of the work does kind of sit with me, but I do get to share that pain with our faculty because there's a lot of stuff like they will be having to evaluate their own classes, their own assignments, their own lesson plans. So some of it kind of is within the class, and then we have groups of faculty that kind of bring it all together and get it into the reports. Yeah.
And I noted that, so this is 5 decades of accreditation from ABET, so this is for 50 years. Right?
Not from our department.
Oh, not from your department.
So our engineering physics program, I believe it got its initial accreditation in the year 2000. It took us, well, no, I take that back. It does go before that one. 2006 was for engineering technology. It wasn't my department back then. So
things have merged and changed over the years.
It has taken a lot of work, and it took a good 5-10 years in order to get that initial accreditation, because there is a large book of rules that you get to follow whenever you're going through those accreditations, and on top of that, you're somewhat at the whim of the visiting team, right? Because each one may interpret those rules a little bit differently.
Okay, that's interesting.
But yeah.
Okay. Another thing I noticed that was announced was this Omron Foundation gift for automation technologies. Tell us about that and what it's going to mean.
Yeah, that was really exciting. So it actually stemmed from an alumni from our program, Rajitha Desanayake. Sorry, I probably mispronounced that a little, but he is an international student that was in our engineering technology program several years ago. He graduated probably about 10 years ago at this point, and started working at Omron almost immediately after he left our program, and got a call from him that said, hey, we would like to get Omron equipment in the department, let's talk. And we've had a series of discussions over the last couple of years, kind of talking about what technologies we could put in front of our students to better prepare them for what they're going to be encountering in the workforce. But also that was in line with kind of some of the stuff that he was doing at Omron. And so we came up with the list of equipment that ended up coming through. And was incredibly pleased. I mean, whenever you're having conversations like this, you're very hopeful that you can get $20,000 worth of equipment. So for him to, he kept saying, yeah, what else can we do? What else can we do? And so for it to get up to this amount was quite extraordinary. And one of the things that we were wanting to push is, one, it allows students to see a whole nother automation platform that they could be using.
Okay.
So it repeats a lot of the capabilities we've had in other systems, but at the same time, it also expands on it quite a bit. So there are, for instance, safety controllers embedded within this system that will be our students' kind of first access to that kind of thing. So it's nice. We get to see a comparison between it and other systems,
Yeah.
but also see kind of brand new technology as well.
So when you do something like, and I looked up Omron because I was curious, and I saw all kinds of relays and power relays, signal relays, all kinds of control things that they do. Does this get integrated into the curriculum somehow, or is there just how does that work when this kind of thing happens?
Yeah, so it is we call it a programmable logic controller is what the system is. And it is the computer behind a lot of industrial automation.
Oh,
so, if you think of a kind of a standard manufacturing line where you have a part traveling down a conveyor and it trips a sensor and something grabs it and does something with it, it's a PLC that's kind of behind all of that. So we have primarily a PLC course where we go into that in depth and we'll learn the basics of it. So now, in addition to learning the Allen Bradley system that we had been looking at, we will also be learning this system in tandem. And you're learning how to program them, how to bring in those signals, use the program of the PLC to then control the system. And so kind of what's exciting about this purchase with some of the safety systems is that's a whole new functionality. So in previous systems, all of your safety had to be hard-coded outside of the PLC because you didn't want, we've all had a computer lockup from time to time, and you don't want a locked up computer preventing your safety systems from functioning.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes
right?
sense.
So you have to have really specialized hardware that is guaranteed, not to lock up, right? It has redundancy built into it. And because of that, it gets programmed in a whole different way. So while we hope to touch on some of that within this basic course, we'll also have more advanced courses beyond that can turn around and look at some of that more advanced functionality.
It's really cool stuff.
It's really fun stuff. I mean, I really like the hands-on, or the programming aspects of it, right? I like that kind of logical thinking it's almost like a logic game at that point. But it's also that mix of hands-on things, right? We have physical things that are connected to these programs, and so you're touching physical equipment, you're connecting sensors, you're making motor spin, all kind of through this program. So to me, it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So let's talk about partnerships and impact and internships, because students are learning about all of these different systems. I mean, and these are jobs there's industry jobs for these type of things. Give us a sense of opportunities for students and what direction they're heading with some of this knowledge. Yeah,
so kind of our bread and butter is manufacturing, and that's really the predominant industry around here for engineers. So we work with quite a few of the large manufacturers around here, so a lot of them will sit on our advisory committee, or we will have alumni from our programs at their facilities, and that has been really great. Companies like Toyota Gosai, companies like Unilever down in Sikeston, or Allen Wire in Sikeston. Even more recently, we've had quite a few conversations and have been working quite a bit with Procter & Gamble here in town as well. So it's really nice having alumni going out to all of these places, and then going out and visiting the facilities and being able to talk to them and hear, what are you really using, and what could we have done differently, and that's really what the advisory committee is. We get a lot of our alumni to come back, but sometimes it's other people within the company as well, other engineers or supervisors or whatever that come, and they tell us, here's how your students are doing. Here's what we would like to see in the program. Here's our great things. Here's some challenges, and those conversations really help make us better.
Yeah.
And then the other nice thing is going out and visiting these facilities. You see what they are doing firsthand. So, you know, the safety systems, you know, for instance, that's kind of been a priority because I'm seeing more of those in industry. And so it's okay, we got to get our hands on this stuff and make sure our students are seeing that as well. Yeah. And that, you know, engineering is just one part of our department. I mean, that really happens across our department. So in construction management, right, we have alumni coming back and talking to our SEMO student organization, and they're hearing a lot of the same things. Or in networking, right, we're talking to network engineers from various places. So yeah, it makes it fun because we definitely have that connection to the real world.
So we got a couple of minutes left. I want to talk about this advisory committee. So the input that they provide, that really helps shape curriculum, I would guess.
Yeah. So you know, sometimes we're just flat out asking them, you know, what are we missing, right? You know, what is not here that you guys are seeing on a day-to-day basis? Sometimes it's, hey, we're looking at this. You know, give us your feedback. You know, which direction should we go? So yeah, we meet with them yearly, officially, but unofficially, we have a lot of conversations really throughout the year where it may just be one-on-one or when we're going to do a plant tour or something like that.
And so you probably talk informally too, because that helps you. And of course, getting program changes, I've kind of learned that doesn't happen with the snap of a finger. I mean, it has to be a proposal put together, and right?
Yeah, and most of them aren't, you know, we're creating a whole new program. It's more the nuts and bolts of individual classes or things like that. So a lot of that stuff we can change a little bit more quickly. I mean, if it requires us to get new equipment, you know, we got to go in and purchase that equipment. But sometimes it's, hey, you guys, you know, talk a little bit more about this specific process, and that's something we can do pretty quickly. Yeah.
We got 30 seconds, but staying up with industry has to be absolutely critical for what you're doing.
Yeah, and it used to be industry moved really, really slow compared to like computers, but it has gotten so much faster, and so it is constantly trying to keep up.
Wow,
Yeah.
Fascinating. Brad, always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Focus on Southeast is a collaboration of KRCU Public Radio and the Department of Mass Media here at Southeast Missouri State University. Just a reminder that portions of these conversations will be broadcast on KRCU Public Radio. They'll also be available on the station's YouTube channel and at krcu.org. From the Russ Center for Media, I'm Dan Woods. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when we focus on Southeast.